The Brew House was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery. But the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewHouse.com. Hi everyone, welcome to the Rochester Press Box here from the mighty Genesee Brew House. We are on location at the Brew House and happy that you're joining us this week. Happy also to have Dan Wesley in. Dan Wesley, the U of R golf coach, and sort of, I call you the self-styled expert on college football around these parts.
Self-styled all the way.
Once you get the reputation, you can't shake it, and it's not a bad thing to be.
Okay,
Toby Motyka sitting in for Mike Catalana, co-hosting along with Pat Duffy. Hey! Well, tell us about the uniform.
Oh, this is a former Rochester American Gates Orlando.
Let's see it.
To the Milano Devils Italian League jersey.
You truly have all of them.
Come on, this is great. I love this.
It's awesome. No, it's fantastic. It's not a knock.
Yeah.
But you truly have every jersey.
Well, it's funny.
In existence.
He wore this with all pads, but he's so tiny that my gut is actually protruding the jersey out.
Gates Orlando and Amerks Hall of Famer. Let's talk college football. You got the championship game coming up, and a whole lot of stuff that led into it. What's the state of the game right now, do you think, Danny?
It's a beautiful rematch. These two teams met last year in the championship game. It was an offensive shootout. It was a 45-40 final in favor of Alabama. I think Clemson has a real chance. They've got weapons. They're not in awe of anything Alabama is gonna give them. Last year Alabama, O.J. Howard, a tight end who only caught 400 yards worth of passes last year during the regular season, broke out and had 208 yards and a couple touchdowns in the championship game, and that really caught Clemson off guard. That's not going to catch Clemson off guard at all this year. They're ready for that.
How did these teams seemingly so distance themselves from everybody else this season?
I don't know if Clemson really did. Clemson lost at home to Pitt late in the year. I think you saw in the ACC championship game, they really took a long time to put away a decent Virginia Tech team. But now that they're there, now that we saw them completely dismantle Ohio State. Now they're back to where they fought so hard all year to have that rematch with the team that looks unbeatable, but I don't think they are.
Danny's fully engaged. You guys, do you care?
I'm not as much of a college football guy, not nearly as much of one, but I'll even admit this season's been pretty entertaining. There's been a lot of intrigue with who would make the playoffs. Programs like Penn State are suddenly back to a national level of prominence. USC winning a Rose Bowl again. You just have a lot going on, and this national championship game, I think, is perfect. I think this is probably, outside of Columbus, Ohio, and markets like that, Clemson versus Alabama is going to be a fantastic game. It was a phenomenal national championship, and right now, I feel like you have a Clemson team that's rising a bit. Watson is starting to have that air of invincibility that he had last year, that he lost at the beginning of this season a little bit. I'm looking forward to watching it. It should be a good game.
You got room for college football?
I don't know. The thing about the NFL is, there's always a villain and a hero, right? Whoever's playing against Bill Belichick is the hero to his villain. So it seems to me in college football, all the most successful teams, they're all villains. Nick Saban is easy to hate. It's Nick Saban. And then everything Dabo Swinney does makes me hate him a little bit more. I'm going to watch the game because it's probably going to be great football, like you said.
It is, yeah.
But I despise both of them as human beings. And I don't want to cheer for either of them, which takes a little bit of fun away from me.
So do you have one?
Maybe we'll get lucky and a ball will bounce off Saban's head, hit Swinney in the head, and they'll both unconsciously be dragged off the field.
This is the old saying goes, in Alabama versus Clemson, who do you vote for, the meteor?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, exactly.
A quick point, the McCaffrey and the Fournette situation with them not playing in their secondary bowl games, I think this is going to expedite the drive towards an 8-team playoff. I mean, does that have an impact, do you think?
I hope we never have an 8-team playoff.
You don't want it?
I think 4 is good. Forget about the second-tier bowl games. You're starting to water down the regular season if you go to 8 teams. I mean, you look at the rivalry games at the end of every season, Auburn, Alabama, Notre Dame, Southern Cal, Ohio State, Michigan. I don't ever want to see a situation where the loser of that game is still in the playoff, because now that game doesn't mean as much.
And you're never going to make everybody happy.
No, because it won't stop at 8, Bill. The team that ends up 9.
It might stop at 8.
I'm with him.
I don't think it will.
Yeah.
I think it'll just go further and further. But money drives the bus, and
But these minor bowl games are pitting teams together that we wouldn't have cared about playing in the regular season.
They'll
Half
still
these
be there,
games-
though. They'll still be there. Those minor bowl games will still be there. You'll
and
just
people
have
are watching.
those
Yeah, I know.
minor games were still minor before the playoff.
Yeah.
Who cared about the Sun Bowl before the college football playoff? Unless your team was playing in it. Now, obviously, games like the Orange Bowl, which was a classic, the Rose Bowl, which was a classic that we just talked about, those aren't part of the playoff, but those kids were still playing like they were playing for a national championship because it still meant something. If you go to 8 teams now, who knows what happens to them, and it waters it down more, and I don't want to see that.
Cool. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. We're on location. We'll talk the Buffalo Bills next. The Press Box, brought to you in part by Connors and Ferris, your workers' comp attorneys. Call 262-COMP, C-O-M-P, today. The Buffalo Bills Quote of the Week was brought to you by the Rochester Geico Office. Give the Rochester Geico team a chance to see how much you could save on all your insurance needs. Call or stop by the office on West Henrietta Road, open Monday through Saturday. The Geico Rochester Quote of the Week, Bill Pucko.
Yeah, this is going to get a lot of reactions one way or the other, but perception is real. Whether you agree with it or not, this is the perception right now about this team around the league, is that there is dysfunction.
I mean, it's kind of funny, right? Man fired by Bills, criticizes Bills front office, who he's no longer a part of. Listen, you want to talk about dysfunctional franchises. Wasn't Bill Pucko part of that front office for the Colts a couple of years ago that was extremely dysfunctional, that no one wanted to be around and said it was awful? Pump the brakes, Bill.
I just wanted to make sure you got that in because I knew you would die.
Well, didn't they want him for a job? Wasn't he interviewing with the Bills to be a football czar, and they went in a different direction, and then he criticized them again? Come on.
This portion of the Rochester Press Box brought to you by Connors and Ferris. So we talk about the Bills, and I think you got to go back a long ways to find a week that was worse for this team than what they just came out of.
I mean, it wasn't fun, that's for sure. But I do feel a little bit bad for Doug Whaley now, looking back after being angry with everybody. And I'll give you this reason why. Right? Doug Whaley comes out and does that press conference, and everybody kills him for not speaking freely. But this is the same guy who about a year ago went on a radio show in Buffalo and talked about how he doesn't think football should be played by human beings, which, by the way, I completely agree with. And anybody that is close to this game thinks the same thing. And they crushed him for speaking freely and not being a company guy. So what do you want from this man? You want him to lie to you and tell you everything is okay. Unfortunately, he's not very good at doing that, as you saw at that press conference yourself, Toby.
Ooh, yeah, that was ugly. I mean, there just is no way around it. And Doug Whaley, public speaking has never been his best attribute. He's always been a little awkward in front of the camera. But the problem is, this could have been avoided by the Bills completely. After Rex Ryan is fired, you bring Doug Whaley out. Every other team brings out the general manager when there is a major change like that. The GM comes out and explains it. Instead, they bring Anthony Lynn out to explain a decision that he had nothing to do with. He trips over himself. Then they bring Doug Whaley out to explain a decision he basically says he had nothing to do with. So it's understandable that people are like, what is going on here? And it is okay to be grateful to Terry and Kim Pegula for everything they have done and continue to do for this franchise. They spend money. By most accounts, they are wonderful owners. They are exactly what you want. They kept the team in Buffalo. But it is also okay to want more from them. And in this case, it needs to be accountability. I feel like we need to hear more than an interview with John Worrow or a statement. I feel like if they're the ones this much in charge, as it sounds like they are, they need to say more.
Aren't they sitting back right now and saying, oh my God, like,
You would
what
think.
happened?
You would think, right? But
Well, just Doug Whaley, he's the only person in America that had a worse week than Mariah Carey, I think. But he literally did say that press conference was painful. He said nothing. He talked in circles, and ultimately, who's running the ship? I mean,
Well, that's the bigger question. More than how the message was delivered by all these people who failed to communicate it was when the message was delivered, it wasn't a good message.
yeah, and
there was no message.
This is the clarity that people need outside of the organization, especially when you're talking about coaches. Even if they might know behind closed doors and are talking with Terry and Kim Pegula themselves, the perception needs to change that no one knows who's answering to who right now. And if that is indeed a perception around the league, if that is coaching candidates and other players that they might go to sign in free agency, if you don't know if the coach is reporting to the GM or if the GM is being circumvented, yet you still have full confidence in the GM, We need clarity. And I don't think it'll take that much to get back on track here. But right now,
you're in the minority thinking that.
There's in terms of organizational stability, it really doesn't. You just need to hear from the heads of the organization. And they haven't had a press conference yet outside of like a rah-rah presser. And I feel like if they could come out and answer some questions, what I saw with John Worrell was very clear. It was very concise. But they're going to have to answer to why you still have confidence in Doug Whaley moving forward. Why have you been silent as things kind of burn?
Can it happen in time to save 2017?
Oh, no, I think that
the coming season.
I think by firing Rex Ryan, you've taken a step back already. I don't think, even if Anthony Lynn comes out and gets this job, that, you're looking at 5-6 wins if you're lucky next season.
Do you remember week 2 when Anthony Lynn was promoted and Greg Roman was fired and everyone thought it was Rex, that he was sabotaging the only guy who could be his replacement? Rex wasn't the problem in terms of disorganization here. This is a bigger picture thing for the Bills.
This portion of the Rochester Press Box brought to you by Connors and Ferris. Like it or not, next. Here's a look at the final standings for our NFL Picks Contest, brought to you by Connors and Ferris. I finished the season with a world record 23-11 mark against the spread. And as the winner, we'll have a donation made in my name to Hunter's Hope. Thanks again to Connors and Ferris for a great NFL season picking games with us. And thanks as well to Mike Catalana and our last place finisher, Pat Duffy. The Press Box Trivia Question brought to you by Sleep City. Queen adjustable bed with memory foam mattress, now $977. Save over $500. Shop Rochester's only locally owned mattress store. No pressure, no hassle sales experience. Here's a look at the Press Box Trivia answer brought to you by Sleep City. Queen adjustable bed with memory foam mattress. Now $977. You save over $500. Shop Rochester's only locally owned mattress store. No pressure, no hassle sales experience. See New York in a whole new way. Amtrak is offering a 15% discount for all travel inside New York State and to Montreal. Visit Amtrak.com for the See New York discount. Safe, comfortable, affordable, and easy. Amtrak. Enjoy the journey. Welcome back. This is the Rochester Press Box. We are at the Genesee Brew House on location, our major sponsor, and this portion is brought to you by Amtrak Trains. Enjoy the journey. Like it or not, Duffy, the Cleveland Browns have apologized for a 1-15 football season.
Did anybody in Cleveland think it was going to go well this season? Like, there's no need to apologize. And Cleveland is one of those cities where, just like Buffalo, even though you're going 1-15, you're still getting 70 to 80% of your season ticket holders back. There was no need to apologize. You knew what you were doing from the beginning. I think this is one of those, we want everyone around the NFL to think we were actually trying to win games this season when they weren't, which, by the way, doesn't make any sense because there's no one to draft anyway, but way to go, Browns.
If you want the Cleveland Browns to apologize after next year if the 2 draft picks or however many you end up with don't pan out. If you're still 2-14.
The apology was nice, but ultimately it's got the shelf life of a Christmas card. Oh, isn't that nice?
Yeah.
There it goes.
Who's better off these days? Right. Cleveland Browns fans, who's better off? Cleveland Browns or Buffalo Bills fans?
We'll see next year. Right now, still Bills fans because the team is loaded with a lot of talent. I'd still take talent over who the heck knows. People are so fascinated with the unknown, and draft picks fall into that. Maybe they'll be great. We don't know. They've had 2 draft picks 2 of the last 5 years. Still went 1-15.
I'm a Browns fan because I'm still celebrating what the Cavs did.
Touche.
Still party
and what
time,
the Indians almost did,
right.
Yeah.
Toby, like it or not, the plight the Syracuse basketball team finds itself in.
I do not like it, and I do not know if it's going to get any better. You just lost to a Boston College team. I know it was a road game, an ACC opener. They went 0-18 in the ACC last year. They're 8-46 in the last few years. This is a talented Syracuse team. This is one of their most talented season opening squads they've had in 4, 5, 6 years.
You keep hearing that, but you haven't seen it. How do you
know
it's
They don't know how to play
true?
defense. They're very talented on offense. Scoring for once isn't the issue for this team. But when you give up 96 to BC and almost 100 on your home court to St. John's, you got big issues. That zone is not working with this group. And my guess is they just don't want to play it.
Is there any chance that the zone has outlived its usefulness?
In watching Syracuse play recently, when your 2-3 zone is allowing someone to grab a ball at the free throw line, turn it around and go unimpeded for a tomahawk dunk, that's not what the 2-3 zone is supposed to do. You're supposed to, if you're going to pack in that zone, you're going to lose to a team that's shooting hot from the outside, and that's it. They're getting torched up the middle. repeatedly with a confused look on their face.
And I refuse to say it. It's outlived its usefulness. They were in the Final Four less than a year ago.
Right.
Like it or not, Tiger Woods and a healthy 2017?
Tiger needs to finish golf tournaments, continue to finish golf tournaments. He did that at his own tournament, the Target World Challenge, where I think he finished second from last, but he tied for most birdies of the week. It was only an 18-player field, but he's showing signs. I mean, he's healthy. He played 4 straight rounds. He needs to continue to do that.
He also finished 16th.
Yeah,
right?
second to last.
Yeah.
But again, I'm a golf coach, so I realize bogeys are bad. But he did make a bunch of birdies. So he's showing signs. But health is number one. He's got to finish tournaments, and when he doesn't play well, he's got to own it. He can't be saying that his glutes weren't firing. I mean, play golf, Tiger. Finish tournaments and own what you do.
He finished 16th, but he finished. That's a start.
Right.
Yeah. This portion of the Rochester Press Box, like it or not, we're brought to you by Amtrak Trains. Enjoy the journey. Unfinished Business is next. The Press Box Stat of the Week brought to you by Fiondoc and Fiondoc. Remember, if you've made the wrong choice, it's time to make the right choice. Fiondoc and Fiondoc, New York's DWI leader for over 35 years. Visit nydwi.com. Dunkin's specialty crafted coffees, macchiato, latte, Americano, and cold brew, made to make your day. America runs on Dunkin'. Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box. We are on location here at the Genesee Brew House. It's time for Unfinished Business, brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'.
It's supposed to be fun. All of this is supposed to be fun, right? Like, we all sat around our radio and turned on the television and watched Doug Whaley's press conference on Monday. And then we hopped on social media after and watched reporters and fans go off on the Buffalo Bills. And then days continued, and these stories and leaks, and people are losing their mind. And it's here something to remember throughout this whole thing. It's supposed to be fun. We watch football and hockey and basketball and baseball to get away from the things that are terrible in our real lives, right? Why are we making things terrible in our sports lives when we're trying to get away from the terrible stuff in our real lives? It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, right? If you're upset with the way the Bagulas are running the team, don't spend money on the Bills. But we're gonna anyway, because it's still going and watching that team lose 49-0 is better than sitting on my couch and having my kids jump on my ribs so many times it cracks it. That actually happened this weekend because there was no Bills football. It's going to be okay. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. Just sit back, have fun, and let's see what Doug Whaley's going to do over the next couple of seasons.
And this is someone, I don't know anyone who's more invested in the week-to-week operation of this football team than you.
Well, like I said, my daughter actually cracked my rib. It's painful to breathe right now. Maybe that was the perspective I needed this weekend.
So you like all this?
Yeah, a little bit.
Danny.
I am the son of a Notre Dame graduate, so this is difficult for me to say, but I want to thank Penn State and Southern Cal for giving us a fantastic Rose Bowl this past week. It was an instant classic, and these are two programs whose commitment to winning football has overcome devastating penalties from the NCAA in the last handful of years. Not penalties that are unwarranted, mind you, but I guess that's a topic for another show. But they were, both programs, devastated with scholarship losses, bowl bans, just in the last handful of years, and they fought through all of that, and they showed up in the Rose Bowl a few days ago and gave us an instant classic. Two proud programs fighting with every ounce of grit that you'll see in the national championship game, fighting for a traditional Rose Bowl championship, and it gave us a great game to watch, and I applaud both programs for fighting through some serious setbacks in the last handful of years to give us what we all got to enjoy the other night.
So why do you have to apologize for Notre Dame?
Because it physically hurts me to say what I just said.
I still can't believe the cracked rib from up there.
It hurts.
One way to heal a cracked rib is to focus on baseball. I know it's cold right now. I know we have a long ways to go, but it feels good to even think about it and talk about it. And lost in all the other news this week is the fact that Mike Quade re-signed to be the Red Wings manager for another season. If baseball's not your thing, you probably don't know much about the guy. But he's a former big league skipper, came to Rochester. He's been here for 2 years, and his team actually has a record of about 28 games above 500 since he got here 2 years ago. Despite the fact that they were the third best team in the league, they missed the playoffs last year because their division was so stacked. Look, it's a good thing, at least here in Rochester right now, to be able to focus on a team that's been winning lately. The Red Wings have been winning lately. The Amerks aren't doing it right now. The Sabres are trying. Who knows what's going on with the Buffalo Bills? Let's think about a team we might get to watch on a warm day in June, score 8 runs, and send you home happy.
Mike Quaddy was in the seat. He was one of our best and favorite guests that we've had on this show. He's really something.
Hard guy to get to sit still. Got to keep him in frame when you're shooting a camera, but good guy.
And when you bring a major league presence into a minor league city, I think it's appreciated.
100%. Yeah.
All right. Dan Wesley, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, Bill. Thank you.
You guys, great as always.
I know.
Don't breathe too heavily. Don't breathe too heavily.
jersey.
Look, Gates Orlando, come on. I love this jersey.
It is
I
a great
love
jersey.
this jersey. You're welcome.
All right. Well, we thank you for joining us. This portion of the Rochester Press Box brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. And we thank the people here at the Genesee Brew House. It's been a pleasure once again. Thanks. We'll see you next week.